My name is Damalare Sonoiki, and this is not another industry podcast. It's an excuse for me to talk to the most interesting and inspiring people across the entertainment industry. So everyone from actors to writers, models, influencers, producers, etc., etc. On this episode, I'm joined by Hugh Augustine. He's a rapper from LA, a real LA staple. He's been on tracks with Sid, Skeme, pretty much just anyway. He's been on tour all around the world. He's on Coachella. He was on a track with Isaiah Rashad. Why is that escaping me? Anyway, so here's Hugh Augustine. I'm very happy to have you, Hugh. Very, very happy. You can roll up, of course. You know, it's a free world.
Yeah,
I like to do research. You know, like sometimes I feel like people will just like have interviews with artists and like not really know anything about them. You know, and it's like, wait, why?
right.
Like you didn't listen to, you know. So today I listened to the whole 100 Years Later, like front to back, and you know
Yeah,
that's your most recent album. And I feel like, first of all, congrats, because like it's rare to have an album these days that you can listen to front to back. Like I
yeah.
think is, I mean, even like I feel like people blame the streaming era, but like even like growing up, like if I like 6 songs out of a 16 song album, I'm like, okay, that's good. Like if there's 6 songs that I like, I'm like, all right, like that's
That's
decent,
a
you
pretty
know?
solid album.
Yeah, yeah. And it's crazy that the bar is that low, right? Because
Right.
like every song, like that's why I like, I mean, I didn't like Certified Lover Boy that much. I didn't really like Honestly Nevermind, but this new Drake and 21 album, I'm like, oh, I could really listen to this front to back. And so but listening to 100 Years Later, I was like, oh, this is like I could listen to this front to back. And so I was like digging around, like just
Damn, that's
online.
major.
Yeah, no, I was digging
Thank you.
around. No, yeah, no, it's you did it yourself, you know. So I was digging around just about you, and I was like, just things I saw. Like I saw some videos of you like freestyling, like on the like freestyling at Loyola. You went to Loyola?
Yeah, I went to Loyola High School.
Wow, Loyola. I have a couple. I don't know if you know Anthony Barr. He went to Loyola.
Yeah, of course.
And I have a friend. I have a friend who like she just loves to date Loyola guys. Like I don't know what it is about y'all. Like y'all just. I, I think. I
Who's
think
your?
y'all just.
Well, you don't
I
have
like.
to say her. You don't have to say her name,
I,
but I probably
I,
know her, huh?
I,
Not like
I,
that. Not like that. Not like that. But like,
I'll text it to you. But yeah, I feel like I'm like damn, like Loyola, because like even Anthony, I met him because he was dating a friend of mine. But I'm like, yeah,
yeah.
Loyola, y'all just got the juice. I don't know what it is. I taught like I did a football skills camp there once because like I was helping Anthony out with something. But yeah, I saw you freestyling at Loyola, and then I also
Wait,
saw
you
you
found that
freestyling.
video?
Yeah, it was in like I think in your documentary. Like you were
Oh,
freestyling at
right. Yeah.
Loyola.
No. No. Facts. Facts. Facts.
Yeah, I
Facts.
think let me
Yeah.
see if I could. You're freestyling at Loyola. Um,
Yeah.
and then you were freestyling on the promenade parking lot I saw too. So,
Yeah.
you know, like I'm from Houston. Like Houston, we really have a big freestyle culture. Like everybody freestyles, everybody uses that same sort of fat pad, you know, DJ Screw, whatever, that sort of slow flow. Like
Right.
I done
Up
came
in the
down.
spot, coming
Yeah.
down clean, moving with my niggas,
Okay.
shirt made of jeans.
Wait, who told
You
you
know
about
what I
all
mean?
that? Who told you about who put you onto that? You're an LA native. Who put you onto the Houston sound? But yeah, it's like, you know, I done came down, I done came through, you
I
know.
mean, I feel like when we was coming up, like, we started getting like a taste of screw music and like UGK was like popular and like, you feel me? We kind of like got onto it with that. And then, I mean, in my own travels and stuff, like, you feel me, like learning about more Houston rappers and like Texas rappers in general, like Zero, and just kind of like as a hip hop historian myself, wanting to tap in and know about what's going
Wow,
on in like
you're a
other
hip
cities.
hop historian. LeBron James describes himself as a hip hop historian too, you know. But you know that's impressive. Like I didn't even like being from Houston. I didn't really get into UGK until like college. Like I was listening to UGK, I was like, oh snap, like Riding Dirty, like this is like fire, you know. And
Yeah.
I didn't get into it until later. But yeah, like at what point did you? Because like I said, like everybody kind of freestyles. At least like where I grew up, everybody kind of freestyles. But like at what point did you realize, yo, I'm good at this? Like I can actually rap. Because like anybody, you know, can mess around and be like, you know, oh, I done came down, I done came through, you know,
Yeah.
up, steady jamming that screw, you know, like. But what were you like? Oh, I could really rap. Because I was watching those videos. I'm like, oh, you were like really rapping.
Um, I knew that I could really rap pretty young, and honestly, My brother, this one year, he got like a DJ, like a starter turntable. It was like plastic or whatever, but it was like a real vinyl, like DJ set. And so we got a couple of these records that were like single records. So on the single, it will have like the song, the instrumental, and the acapella. And so I would just be playing the instrumental tracks. And that was like the first time I ever like really tried to freestyle, was like messing around with those records and just like letting the instrumentals play. And one time I freestyled, it was just like me and my brothers chilling at the house, and I must have freestyled for like 10 or 15 minutes straight. And we just kept looping the beat and looping the beat. And I probably was like 10 or 11 at that time.
Oh, okay. So you were really like, so was that the age you were like, yo, I could like, were they, like, was it other people who were like, oh, he's cold, or was it like you being like, yo, I know I could do this?
Well, yeah, it was like, when we were younger, I feel like that was like one of the things we did as kids is like you play sports, you like freestyle, you ride bikes. It's just kind of like a thing when a bunch of young niggas get together. It's like you're going to start freestyling.
Yeah.
So I feel like it was one of those things where we would all be doing it, but then I would actually be good, and the niggas would be like, "Oh shit, like that was hard," you know? And then when I got into middle school, there was this kid in 8th grade. I'll never forget this nigga. His name was Walter Mack. And he was like in the 8th grade, and he was like really a hood dude, and he was like already gangbanging and stuff. And
Yeah,
he would
eighth
be
grade.
yeah, and he would be rapping. And then I started rapping with him at lunch. And then it became a thing where I was like, damn, I'm battling this dude kind of every day at the lunch tables. And we were just like the two niggas that could rap at school.
Yeah, every school has that dude who like either one or two dudes who can really rap. Like, everybody freestyles, but it's those one or two dudes who's like, oh, you can really rap. And we kind of grew
Yeah,
up. We kind of grew up around the time that free loops and all these things started like being accessible, probably. So I feel like
right,
those one or two dudes will actually mess around and like make a mixtape. You know what I mean? Like make like really start recording like for real, for real.
right. And that was me. Like that was my experience. You feel me? Like I had a homie that I met in 7th grade, Bo Jacobson, who his parents like bought him like a laptop, and he had like recording equipment at his crib. So, in 7th grade, I recorded my first songs like at
You
his house.
do you remember your first like freestyle? Because even like I remember, I think 6th grade, I like spit like some. I can't remember what it was, but like I used to be able to remember it, but I don't remember it anymore. But do you remember like your first bars, like your first? You're like, oh, like either the first bars you laid down or just the first ones you really
Fuck yeah,
spit.
I remember him for sure.
What was it? How'd it go?
So, all right, it went like this. It went,
Oh, come
So
on, you forget.
it went. I got a little story to tell to you people of 5 little snitches that suck like a sequel and talk that stuff, but they can't back it up, and they always trying to be something they not. Cause I'm from the streets where the drama hits hard. Mess around with me, and I'll catch you off guard. And I take that stuff I endure every day. I got these armies with me, and we ready to spray. And then it was
Okay.
like, it was like a little battle rap because it
Yeah,
was
was that?
about these 5 kids at my school that was like trying to bully my homie. So the song was called 5 Little Snitches, and then that because we couldn't say bitches, I was like in 7th grade.
Okay, I was
So
gonna ask like what grade. So yeah, that's fine. I wish I could remember. I mean, not that I'm not a rapper, but I wish I could remember. Like I had some.
I probably can remember that whole song if I really try for real.
Yeah, no, that's fire. I mean, so what's dope about you? I feel like you're like a staple in your city. Like rap is very regional, right? And like
Yeah,
I feel like to be a staple in a city like LA is crazy because LA's got so many people. You know, the second largest city, and it's a lot of creative people. But like I feel like if I meet somebody and they follow you, I'm like, oh, I know they must be from LA or they've really like been in LA. Like I feel like you're like a
right.
staple. So how did that happen? Like how did you kind of become like somebody who was like stamped? Who like I feel like no one, I've never met somebody who talks bad about Hugh. Like I never met somebody like anybody I've met. And also you're somebody who like I might know two people from LA who don't know each other, but they both know you. Like how did you
Right.
become that like point where it's like, all right, you're just kind of like connected to everybody?
Bro, I was like, I'm the youngest in my family, right? So like all my brothers are older than me. I have a lot of older cousins and older like whatever, homies from around the neighborhood and stuff. And so I was always out because I was hanging out with the older kids. So as soon as my mom said I could go, which was like when I was like getting around like 12 or 13, I just started like being in the mix and going to a lot of parties. And like we used to have teen clubs in LA back in the day. So
Yeah,
like,
I've heard about that because Kofi and Kwame. Well, so Kofi and Kwame, they're these two actors. They're from LA. But
okay,
they
so okay, boom, Kofi and Kwame, we went to middle school together. We all used to ride the school bus to school
what school
together.
was that?
Paul Revere Middle School. So Kofi and Kwame, we all rode the bus from Baldwin Elementary. So like those are my
And
homies.
just for people who don't know, so Kofi's an actor. He was in Girls Trip, Queen Sugar, I think other stuff. Then Kwame also an actor, but also just a crazy person who knows everybody, literally anybody. Drake, Bieber,
And Kwame
anybody.
was actually the first famous nigga like on some like when we was kids because he was on
The Office.
it.
And
No,
everybody hates
before
Chris.
that,
Everybody hates Chris.
even before that, bro. Before that, he was on the Bernie Mac show.
Oh, I didn't know that.
This nigga was on the Bernie Mac show as like, the love interest of the daughter.
I didn't even know that. But yeah, I mean, so yeah, I've heard about like I'm the ultimate transplant. Like I moved to LA when I was like 23, but like growing up, I was always like I always loved like the idea of LA. Like I lived in Nigeria until I was 6, and like Tupac was my favorite rapper. Like I love Tupac. Like I literally
me
like
too.
yeah, and so I was like probably like when I was living in Houston, I had a friend who would like burn CDs, and he would just burn me mad Tupac. Like I basically only listened to Tupac until I was like 12 probably.
Yeah.
And then like I first got into basketball when the Lakers were just cooking like 99, 2000, 2000, so like I love Kobe. Like I love Kobe.
Lakers, right?
Yeah, so that's how I got into like being an NBA fan, like a basketball fan. So I've always felt like what's the word? Like just affection. Like I always liked LA. Like I always felt like I would end up living there.
Right.
But like you're actually from there. So like, what are the like we had teen clubs in Houston, but like I didn't go out. Like I was a nerd. I was like I was a nerd. But we can get into that too. Like because I felt like when I was listening to your music,
we had the biggest one was called Club Access. That was like, if anybody who grew up out here went to Access, they already know what I'm talking about. And it's a big reason why, like, when you see a motherfucker who's like 25, well, now we're in our 30s. Well, I'm 30. Yeah, it's like, but at that time when we're 25, 26, in that late, like, mid 20s, late 20s, you see motherfuckers being like, bro, I'm over partying, I'm over the club. It's because those motherfuckers like me been in the club since we was 14, 15. You know what I'm saying? Like going to Access, going to Get It Wet parties, going
what part of town was Access in?
So that was the thing that was crazy about it, is that it was in Hollywood. So we was really renting out real Hollywood clubs, but throwing teen clubs in there. And DJ Mustard was the DJ.
Oh, wow.
When we was in high school. So DJ Mustard was like the poppin' DJ when we was in high school. He used to do all the house parties at my house because we used to have big house parties in high school at my crib.
Yeah, I feel like y'all like I know Etienne. So Etienne, his mom is Shirley Ralph. I remember like when I met Etienne, he said his party, like his crib was one of the cribs like would have parties like
it was,
all the Baldwin Hills people and all like the Odd Future people would kind of turn up. Right. So like yeah, like
I'm a part of that. I'm a part of that whole like friend group and scene. You feel me?
Yeah. Well, I feel like you're part. Like I feel like you can't tell a story of like LA hip hop in the last like 10 years without mentioning you, because I feel like you touch. Like you have a song which I was just listening to with J Rock and Isaiah Rashad. You have a song with Sid. Like I feel like you connect. Like you're like a bridge almost.
I got a song with Skeme. You feel me? Like I work with a lot of people that would never like work with each other type shit. You know what I'm saying?
And by the way, that I'm not just saying this because I'm you're on the podcast. Like that verse was fire. Like I remember I was listening to it. Because sometimes you don't know whose verse is who. I'm like, oh, that was hard. Like, this must be J Rock. Like, this is a hard ass. This is like really hard. I'm like, oh, no, that's Hugh. I'm like, oh, this verse, like the poltergeist and all that, like the like.
Yeah, I barred out on that.
You barred out on that one for sure. But yeah, all right. So y'all are going to these teen clubs, like, so what's going on? Like, y'all going to? Is it like? See, the thing about Houston, like, I don't really go out like in Houston, like, and rest in peace, take off that whole situation. But like Houston, people like you were talking about people starting gangbanging like 7th to 8th grade. So Houston people started gangbanging like around that time too.
Yeah.
But like a lot of like, we call it plex, like drama, beef, plex. But like parties will always kind of end up with like somebody getting,
It was
beat
like
up or
that too out
like
here. Like niggas getting jumped. You know, that was also at the same time as like sidekicks and Blackberries and all that stuff. So niggas getting jacked for their phones and like, you know, it would be a mixed crowd of like kids who was like either, you know, black kids that parents was famous or their parents had money mixed with like the hood kids, you feel me? Everybody's partying together because we all know each other type shit.
yeah.
But then it would also be the kids that's like really gang banging and they're just coming to the party to start trouble type
See,
shit, you
okay, I
know?
want to talk about that. I want to talk like I feel like I was listening to the album and I felt like because I know you was like knowing like our mutual friends, kind of like Ladera, like like people who are from like that, like Baldwin Hills, Ladera. I also know
Right.
you're like you're like from Lamert. But I feel like I really felt like I could connect to your music because you have like one like I'm like okay, you're a chef, right? So I'm not thinking like super gritty, but I was listening to your music. You have some like bars that are like flew a pound into Art Basel, like you like flew into Art Basel with a pound or whatever. And also just like I was laying in the bed, bullet holes in my denim. So you got shot?
Yeah, I got shot 3 times.
Yeah, so I got shot when I was 16. So we had that in common. It wasn't
Yeah.
3 times though, but like I feel like I could relate to the fact like kind of being around it but not in it. Like I was never like involved in some like like
Yeah.
street stuff, but I was around it.
I was lucky because like I came from a neighborhood where it was like that had an element, you know? But at the
Yeah,
same time I
right.
yeah, you feel me? And like being around that and have cousins that are like involved and friends that's involved and like niggas you grow up with that end up really heavy in it. But I had good parents and stuff, you know? And like my parents was really doing everything they could to make sure like my mom would drive us an hour to go to elementary school because the school that I was supposed to go to is like in the jungles, you know what I'm saying? So it's like shit like that, you know, it's like putting me in summer camps or like traveling sports, you know, so it's like I always was occupied with my
What
time and I wasn't just
football, basketball?
football and baseball.
Okay, yeah. It's funny. I've been talking to like on this podcast. I've been talking to like a lot of actors, and one thing I see is like one thing that keeps like you see all these child actors who go off the rails, and everyone I'll talk to who didn't go off the rails, they've been like, "Yo, it's my family." They've been like, my mom, my dad, like they really had a good, and even like me writing on Blackish, like none of the Blackish kids, knock on wood so far, there's none of the Blackish kids you can see that like drugged out, like
Yeah,
doing something crazy, and they all have really good parents. So it's interesting. Like, I guess I mean for me, like I would say it was my parents, but I was just also just I was not built like that. Like I was just not like
yeah,
I was a nerd. Like I was just like I was cool with all the dudes. Like I think back like to my middle school and like one, two, three kids that I was like tight with in middle school. All because I went to a boarding school for high school. Like three kids I was tight with in middle school, all caught bodies, like separate incidents. One of my really good
yeah,
friends caught bodies. One of my really good friends, one who he shot me on accident. Like so, I was like when I was in sixth grade, my house got shot up just on some drive. I don't even know why. It's like a drive by. Then when I was 16, a friend of mine, he was a blood, and he had gotten into something at a party. He got shot, and so me and I went to his house to be like, just on some like, oh, how are you doing? He's getting better.
yeah,
And then when we were talking, he was things like, yo, I know who shot me, whoop de whoop. And he's like spinning his gun around, like we passed it around, me and my, we passing around whatever. And then he was putting it back, he was spinning it around, like, yo, make sure it's on safety. And he's like, it is, and he pulled it and like, it hit me like right here. So
yeah,
I was the dude who was like around it, but I was
yeah.
never like involved in it to where like I'm not out, gang banging or anything like that. But I was just like cool with the
Right.
people. But like listen to your music, I felt that same vibe of like, you talk about like even in the interview, you're like, yo, if this had been 5 years ago, I would have been gang banging. Or like,
Yeah.
like just that you're like 2013.
Like the era that I came up in, you know,
Yeah,
like
yeah. Well,
everybody that okay, so like there's people you go to school with and stuff, and then like sometimes they become your friends or whatever, but it's like the people that you around, you know, like at home type shit, or like, you know, when you go to because I spend a lot of time playing at the park and stuff, you know. So like a lot of my friends that I was like with that I knew since I was really younger till like I became, you know, middle school, high school age, those were all the people who were outside of my school friends that was like getting into real shit. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying?
Which park?
So I grew up playing baseball at Darby Park
Okay.
in Inglewood, and
Okay.
then I played football in Culver City. But a lot of kids that played football there didn't live over there, you know, because I didn't live over there either.
Yeah. LA is also kind of weird because I feel like one street over might be like, I mean, it's the same. I mean, really, I mean, the best example is like like Baldwin Hills, Ladera Park, Inglewood, Lamert, like you might go one street over it and it's kind of like, or it's also like a place might look nice but it's still hood. But
I feel
I mean,
like it's just like LA is like you might be the kid of the dad or the mom that like was the one that made it in the family, but everybody else is still in the hood. A lot of our families come from Compton or Watts or you know what I'm saying, or they came from, the South and they moved out here. It's like, you know, it's a lot of people that like were able to do good for themselves or their families and stuff like that.
they couldn't
But
get everybody, bring everybody with them, right?
yeah, you know what I'm saying? So I feel like it'd be that a lot of time. Like, you know, I like you were saying, you got homies that's like caught bodies and stuff, and it's like I got those homies too. Like one of my best friends from middle school, a kid I rode the bus with, he lived down the street from me. Like he know like when I talk about my friends, it's like people that know my parents,
Yeah, people who have been like sat down in your house,
in my
like yeah,
house. Like we had meals and shit. He met my grandma when she was alive and stuff like that. So
yeah,
it's like
yeah,
homies like that who it's like, damn, like I had one homie, he's down for 20 years. I had another homie who did 10 years and got out, and it's like these is niggas that I could call my dad and be like, yo, you remember so and so? Like,
yeah,
and he gonna know who I'm talking about. He might not know the people I've been hanging out with the past 10 years, like since I've been an adult and shit, but or like in the industry, but he knows the people
yeah,
that I
yeah.
was around like for real. So it's crazy that
Mm.
like, like I was saying, I had good parents. I was like able to be in certain like circles and be inspired by different things that like led me down the path that I'm on now and that I
Yeah,
didn't
like
like get
that.
sucked in.
Yeah, so it was really the people you had around you. That's it. Because I feel like I look at it like yeah, it was my parents, but I'm just like I was not built for the streets. I mean, I was like a
Yeah.
book nerd kid. Like I would hang out with those dudes. I was cool with them, but like I just was not like even to this day. Like I've been around so many situations. Like I'm the dude who like because Houston. Like I feel like LA has a squabble culture. Like LA, y'all squabble. Y'all. It makes me realize like why now not as much anymore. Not as
Yeah,
much
I'm like,
anymore
they're
probably.
shooting now.
Yeah.
We ain't
No, y'all.
squabbling. No, they ain't squabbling.
No, not as
I
much
wish they
anymore.
were. I would be out here going to parties. I'm not
Yeah.
going to no parties like that.
No. So I've like people ask me like, yo, like, when I'm like as far as being when I'm in Houston, it's like, oh, like what do you do for fun? Like it's like the night that Takeoff died, a friend of mine had been in town for Halloween. And she's like, oh, like what do you do for fun? Like I was like, I'll be at the crib. Like I've
Yeah,
been around so many incidents where somebody swung on somebody, it's just like it's especially Texas, we have like a gun's like an ID, like everybody has one. It's legal,
right.
and so like just to, like I feel like
Everybody got guns. People drinking.
yeah, I feel like LA, like you're right, it's changed. Like I feel like what changed it in Houston is like, and people don't get mad at me, but like, or, I mean, New Orleans people will get mad, but like New Orleans had a real like New Orleans they shoot in New Orleans, like New Orleans was a murder capital, and then
Yeah,
Katrina
I
happened.
used to live out there too.
Yeah, so Katrina happened, and then like a lot of New Orleans people came to Houston, and like in New Orleans, you could beat a body,
Right,
like especially back then, you could beat a body. You just be quiet. They have like different kind of laws out there as far as like the
right.
French
The
code and
first
all that.
48 shit.
Yeah, French code and all that. Like so, like basically, if you be quiet for 60 days, you just have to basically intimidate witnesses for 60 days, and they won't. You basically beat the body. But in Houston, in Texas, they'll keep you in county for months and months. They'll build a case. And so I feel like people from New Orleans came out here. They had that shooting culture, and I feel like it permeated Houston. So we're like over the years, there's been a shooting culture out here. Where like I just like watching that video, all those videos, all those angles it would take off. I was like, oh, I know the situation. Like I've been in this exact situation where people start talking, somebody swings, and then like when somebody starts swinging, I have a countdown in my head like 5, 4, 3. Like
Right, they're gonna start shooting.
I'm out. Like I'm not the brave. I don't gotta be brave for nobody. Like I'm out.
Yeah,
But yeah, I mean, like I was looking at your bars because I was like, like, because I'm like, all right, you're a chef, like you're like, you're like a laid back type of dude. But I'm looking at your bars, you're like, 2013, half the homies in the streets, like, this is supposed to be the cool side in $1 million house, but we in a who ride, like, have to make a hard choice in '05. Do I want to get deeper in the streets or the rhymes? Like, so you were really like you were getting pulled in both directions, it seems like. And I was like, you got shot at like 20, so like you were obviously. I mean, I was like, how did that happen? Like, if you can talk about it, but like obviously, it seems like you were kind of one of those people who could have gone either direction.
yeah. I mean, like I was saying, like that was always an element, just being in LA. You know what I'm saying? And like, I don't know, like with the situation with getting shot. that was like a wrong place, wrong time thing, you know what I'm saying? But it was on some like, I got shot by some gang members. Like they was on a gang initiation and I happened to be at a place that they was just looking for people to shoot, you know? So, I was in a large group of people.
Oh wow! So you
You
got
feel me?
unlucky.
I- Yeah,
Like,
it was like,
were other people hit, or was it just you that was
yeah,
hit?
no, 5 people got shot.
Y'all all survived though.
We
Hopefully,
all we all survived.
that's a
But
blessing.
we
That's a
was but
blessing.
we was all together, you know what I'm saying? Like it was a
And were
party.
y'all like even affiliated, or was it just like y'all are in the wrong area? So like it's just
It
it's
was
green.
more of a wrong area, you know what I mean?
Right,
But
right.
yeah, bro, it's just one of those things where like I said, a lot of homies that I grew up with, like playing sports with or just knowing from being around town, it's like it would be just as easy for me to do it too, you know what I'm saying? And like I said, I had a lot of homies that did do that and that did get caught up doing that and like serving time because of that, or they're so deep in it that they like feel like I'm already in it. So how could I change or how could I
Well,
do something different, you know?
yeah, it also feels like gangs are so part of the culture down there that like it seems like if you're born in certain areas, I mean maybe I have it wrong, but it seems like you almost have no choice. Like if you're born in
I mean,
certain
you already
areas,
from there. You already from there.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's like if you go somewhere, if I go to Compton and niggas ask me like where I'm from, and I'm like, oh, I grew up in this area, they're gonna ask me, oh, so you from this gang?
So it's like you might as well just damn near join it anyway if you're gonna get pressed about it anyway, right?
Or not even that, but it's like the thing about gangbanging in LA, it's like, yeah, it's like niggas are gangbanging, but it's like those are your friends, you know? It's like these are the niggas that you grew up on the block with. Like when you see people pass away out here, and then you see their homies that they all from the same hood, they're posting pictures from like their fifth grade graduation and like niggas playing sports together and stuff. It's not like all of a sudden you just decided one day you're gonna be a gang member and then you went to some clubhouse and then you met all the guys that are in the gang, you know? It's like
Yeah.
it's people you already know. It's your uncle, it's your dad, it's your brother, it's your cousin, it's your homie from down the street. It's you know what I'm saying? Like you growing up in it. Like if you
Yeah,
live
no.
especially if you live on one of those streets where it's like really active, it's like, okay, these niggas are outside. You walking around, you playing, like you gotta go to the store. Like niggas know you from the hood. Like, like whether you got put on or not, like you're from the hood because that's where you from. Like you literally live on that street. Like what street do you come from? That's the street you live on. Like that's where your
Yeah.
fam that's where your granny stay at. That's where your moms grew up at. Like you know what I'm saying? It's not like
Yeah, no, that makes sense. That makes sense. I mean, are you one of those people who feel because like Houston has like Crips and Bloods too, but there are people. I feel like people from LA sometimes be like, "Yo, that's like not like y'all not really like if you're not from like that, like how can you rep Hoover but you're in New York? Like, do you feel like it's kind of spread beyond LA now and like it's still just as official?
I mean, I'm no expert on gang culture and stuff like that, but it's just like who am I to say like if niggas are official or not? Like I know that there's gangs that are like originated in LA that are in New York and Atlanta and like all these different places. It's like the niggas is really from there. If they from
Yeah.
there, they be coming out here and they be really with the people that's from
They
there.
do, they do, or they pay a tax or check in. But
Yeah,
yeah. I was so looking at your album. First of all, your album covers are fire. Like I don't know whoever designed your album covers. Like I was just looking through like your Apple Music, like Hurry Up and Wait, like you in front of the fridge. Word is Bond, like this kind of black sort of like. I mean, even just watching like the documentary for 100 years later, like you're very into like black owned, like black, so like that sort of Word is Bond
yeah.
still standing on La Brea. That must be after you got shot, I'm guessing, because you got this
Hmm.
Walker, and then Humongous. That's like more just a straightforward picture, and then the other like every picture I feel like is very like. Are you like you put a lot into the art direction? It seems like.
Definitely. Those
Yeah,
all are my like creative outlets too. I feel like album covers can be their own piece of art, like outside of
yeah,
it can be its own expression. Like of the meaning of the music or the message that you're trying to put out. It doesn't always have to be like so straightforward with the music. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, yeah.
the album cover is its own piece.
Yeah, I think about like Illmatic, like which I feel like that's probably the best rap album of all time, probably. And I
Yeah,
just like
it's one of my
not,
favorites.
yeah, like thinking about Nas, just like a young Nas, like looking out his window, it's like it captures the album. It's like him kind of surveying and like it's dope when the album cover really tells the story of the album. So like, I
Yeah,
mean, you like music is taking you a lot of places. Like you went on tour with TD, like on a world, like you were in Berlin, like I think Paris too. I'm not sure. I know for sure
yeah.
Berlin.
Paris,
Like,
Sweden. We went to Denmark. We went all over Germany. You feel me? Like,
yeah. So
yeah,
how did you tap in with them like that? I mean, because I feel like people think of music as like, oh, like you got to be the biggest person. You got to be as big as Drake or Kendrick Lamar or something for it to really be worth it. But like you've
yeah,
like music is taking you all around the world. You know what I mean? Like you've built, like you've eaten off music. It's open doors for you. Like it's like it's taking you literally all around the world. So how did that happen for you?
Um, I feel like I've always been putting myself out there as an artist for one, like because I've been doing it for so long. So that's been a big part of like my identity and just how I move, like I'm just always putting myself in a position to be like heard or seen, you feel me? So um I just happen to have like mutual friends, and me and Isaiah met in the studio when he was finishing up his Sun's Tirade album because we were just recording in the same place.
Oh wow.
And yeah, so that was kind of just like one of those friendships that built over time and kind of like slowly and on some like, oh, I see you around. And then we kind of got more comfortable with each other. Then we started like hanging out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, but everything I've done in music has been like off of like a genuine like friendship for the most part. Like I'm a super independent artist, you feel me? So I'm usually working with people that I know. You know what I'm saying? Like if I
Like
don't know
it's
you,
organic.
yeah, it's organic and it's on some shit like I know I'm going to be doing this for a long time, so I want to be working with people that I feel that same way about their shit and like they're just as dedicated because I want to be able to bring this out in 10 years or 20 years or you feel me? And I
Yeah.
know you're still on it too.
Yeah, well, I love that. Like, I love that you said that because I feel like rap is so viewed as like a young man's sport. But like the biggest rapper, like Drake, is 36.
Yeah.
Future might be like 38 or something. Like even like Dirk is probably like 30. So like rap doesn't stop when I remember Drake was talking about he'll retire when he's 35 or something, and now obviously he's older. But like rap doesn't just like Future's 39. You know what I mean? Like so, I think that like it's dope that you feel like this is something you're gonna be doing, because like it's weird that like rock acts and tour into their 60s and 70s and 80s, and it's like rap. Oh, you're supposed to stop.
Right.
When you hit 20. Yeah, Dirk is 30. So like
Like the ageism in hip hop or whatever.
yeah, like I want to see rappers rap, and even like I remember like when Jay-Z dropped 444, it was dope because it's like like he's rapping about like infidelity and like his marriage and like being a father. Like I want rappers to age. Like one thing I really hate lately is like how just rappers been dying. You know what I mean? Just like how much the streets and rap,
Yeah.
like, and it's funny because I feel like I didn't
It's so
realize.
intertwined right now.
One of the first people I talked to was this dude. I don't know if been following the YSL thing, but this dude George Cheedy, he was like on top of he was on Vlad TV twice. He's been on top of that whole Thug and YSL thing. And I think it didn't hit me until like it hit me gradually, like how tied in this. Like really, what happened is in 2018, really, I had a friend, like almost exactly to the day, actually, like they were recording. I had a friend who was who got killed. He was in a car with another dude, and they were outside a strip club, and they got killed. And like in Houston, I'm used to when somebody gets killed, you think like, oh, it's like like usually it's like a takeoff situation. Somebody start words exchange, somebody start scrapping, and then bop bop, shots, or it's somebody tries to steal a chain, and then boom, shots. But it was like they were sitting in the car, and like one person came up on each side, and like it was like a hit. And so I was like, yo, what happened? And all my friends were like, yo, like, my friend, they're like, oh, well, he was hanging around with this dude, and this dude had money on his head. And they said so casually, like, oh, oh yeah, I mean, we told him to stop hanging out with him. He had money on his head. And like, that's when I started realizing, like, when I see a lot of these rappers dying, like some of them are just like flukes, right? Like PNB Rock, he's at the wrong Roscoe's, the wrong time. Somebody sees him with all this ice on, but like a lot of it is like dudes who really have dirt they've done in the streets, and it like catches up to them. You know, like if you see like when you see like actual targeted hits, and I just wish like rappers would like, because there's so much money to go around. It's like, why are we even like the whole like Lucci and Thug are like multi-millionaires. It's like, why are we even doing this to each other? Like it's so crazy to me, like how much as rappers get big, like the streets still stay like, you know, it's sad to me.
But I feel like, a lot of the reason why people like certain artists is because they really rapping about shit they really doing or they really did. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, I don't know. The streets and rap music is like they go hand in hand at the same time because this is the music from the streets. You know what I'm saying? So like
Yeah, no,
we you feel me? Like it's like being authentic and being able to talk about that street shit is like a big um lane, or like that's a big theme for a lot of people. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, and it's funny because I feel like I'm guilty of it too. Because like I started like my most listened to artists like 2015, 16, whatever. It was like 2013 to like 2015 was like Drake, and then 15, 16 was like Drake and like really Future, like damn near past Drake, like in my listening. And then like I started listening to Dirk a lot in like 2020, and like I just started like really, really like just listening to mad Dirk. Like I was looking at my Apple Replay. This is the first year Dirk knocked off Drake as far as like the most listening to. I'm not gonna front, like part of what made Dirk appeal even more to me is like, oh, he's like, bro is really like, you know, I feel bad because it's like on a moral level, like I don't like I shouldn't, you know, I can't get mad and be like, yo, why are these people getting killed and stuff? But I'm like enjoying like the music, and like some of it is dissing the dead, and some of it, you know, is like, you know,
right.
it's perpetuating the same thing. But yeah, that authentic, like, you know, Von, like people love that authenticity of Von. But I wish it could just kind of be kept in the music somehow. Like it's tough because like there's certain people, like ever since what happened to my friend, I'm
It's like
very much
we're traumatized by this, like by the actuality of like that shit happening, like our friends dying and friends going to jail, and like we're actually living through that shit, and then we're consuming like that media that's reflecting like that same lifestyle because the people that are making it are going through it too. You know what I'm saying?
yeah. And then the
So
labels are
it's like,
putting money into it too, because it's like, oh, this is
yeah,
what's selling. I'm the biggest hypocrite because my most into artists like the past like couple of years, it's been like Dirk, ESTG, 42 Doug, like people who are really like not young boy. I never really got into young boy, but like people who are really like rapping about really like you know, like Dirk has a whole long list of people he's lost and people that the other side has lost. And then, you know, Doug is in the feds right now, you know, behind like some petty, like, you know, pistol charge, but like, you know, he's really lived it. And ESTG's managers were, I mean, every ESTG bar is about murder and selling fentanyl. And like his managers really got locked up in the Fed. So it's like, damn, I want that. Like, I love the music about it, but I hate the actual, like what's really happening behind it. You know, it's terrible. Like, even and my friend, to bring it back to rap, like my friend, my friend and the dude they both got killed, like they were both rappers, but the dude he was with was like really rapping, like really like about to kind of take off in the city. And so like
yeah,
I was like, oh, like they were just so casual, like, oh, he had money on his head, like that's just like a normal thing. You know what I mean? Like, oh, like he just, you know, like he had done stuff in the streets, or he had robbed around, you know, like, but it's tough
right.
because like people, you know, and I feel like especially now, like in LA, like I remember like that taught me the lesson. Like it's sad. I saw PNB Rock and Draco the same night. Like after the Free Larry Hoover concert, Drake had thrown this party at Dave and Buster's, and I was outside. I saw the party, and like Draco was coming in. I remember being like, "Yo, I'm not finna stand next to this dude. Like I love his music. I'm like, I'm not finna stand near this dude because I've learned from what happened to my friend. Like, if somebody has a target on their back, it whoever's trying to collect that is not sparing somebody just because, you know what I mean, they're not sparing you. So like I take that stuff really seriously. Like I really don't, like I used to hang around Fredo Santana. Like I met him in LA. Like I was cool with Maxo, Fredo. Like I met Fredo. I remember like when I was in LA, because I was a transplant. So like I want to talk about that too, like growing up in LA versus being a transplant. But I was a transplant. So like me being around like In Houston, the coolest thing that might happen in Houston is like you run to like Slim Thug at the Galleria. That's like our big mall. Like you run to Slim Thug or like
Yeah.
Steve Francis at the Galleria, like local stars. In LA, you might run into freaking Matt Damon, like you might run into Tom Hanks, you might run into, Drake, right? And so like I used to hang out with these, I hung out with Fredo a couple of times, and my friend, and like sometimes I would bring friends around because I was like, oh, I kind of got over being starstruck, but my friends, they're still like, oh wow. My friend was like, yo, don't bring me around. Like if Fredo's around, I want to be around your crib if Fredo's around. I'm like, yo, Fredo's nice, he's cool. But after like FBG Doug died and the way he got killed outside like the nicest part of Chicago, I'm like, oh, like I see why my boy was like, yo, don't bring me around Fredo, because like these dudes are in like real life beef, like not petty beef over bars, but like where like bags are going on heads, people are pulling up 2 cars deep at the nicest, like the Rodeo Drive of Chicago, really clapping people. So yeah, it's crazy. Like, people say that rap is the most dangerous. Like you don't ever feel like that's dangerous for you though, because you don't really invite that type of, your bars aren't very like, violent really. But do you ever feel like,
I'm in the community, you feel me? Like I'm doing stuff like giving food to the elderly and doing stuff like that. You know what I'm saying, bro? Like it is dangerous just living out here and just being, but at the same time, it's like I grew up out here and I'm just like smart about the way that I move and the type of shit that I involve myself in. So, and just like putting the right energy into my music to where I'm not inviting any type of like, if somebody's hating on me, it's not because I like, it's not because of anything that I can control. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that's real. And like it's like what was that like growing up in LA? Because I feel like I said, like when I came out here, like I was so like, wow, it's like it felt like Will getting off, in the beginning of the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, where he gets off and he's like, oh, like, because especially because I was writing for Blackish, so like I was working with Lawrence Fishburne and Tracy Ellis Ross and Anthony, but even besides that, like I was going out with, like we mentioned, Kwame, and like Kwame's going to like, we're going to like Bieber's birthday and Puffy's birthday, and I'm just like, but I feel like for y'all it's like normal, you know what I mean? Like y'all just are like, yeah, this is my friend's mom, like this. Like I remember like a couple times I'll be at somebody's house and be like, well, why does this person have, like, I'll forget. Like, I'll be like, why does this person have pictures of Eddie Murphy or like LL Cool J all around their house? I'm like, oh, what? Yeah, that's her dad. Like, Eddie, like, or that,
Right.
So, like, but I feel like it's normal for y'all. Like, how is that growing up, like, in the midst, especially in the, like, black, like, black excellence, black success, Ladera, like, around all this stuff where people's parents are, like, on, like, the shows that I watched growing up, like, Moesha,
Right,
and,
like
like,
the whole world
yeah,
was
That's
like,
So Raven. Like your friends
like,
are in those shows. Either your friends' moms and dads are in those
right.
shows. What's that like?
When I was growing up, my babysitter was damn Robert Rashad. You know who that is?
It sounds mad familiar.
He's the star of My Cousin Skeeter.
Oh,
He's
yeah,
in
yeah,
Coach
yeah.
Carter.
Wait, wasn't he
You
like
know,
yeah. Bro, you know what's so crazy? I'm so
so
embarrassed.
it's like shit like that. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. I used to think Cousin Skeeter was played by a real actor, but I thought he had like a skin condition or something, bro. Like I thought the
there's a
puppet was,
puppet.
bro. I was so
It was Bill Bellamy, dog.
yeah, I shouldn't even admit that, but I was like, yo, like I really thought that this dude was. Oh yeah, Robert Rashard, wasn't he like a Crip or something? I feel like he had a video where someone was like, maybe it's some other actor or
He
something.
did have an interview talking about he was
acting, but he was
he
like
was
gang
like,
banging on the side.
yeah.
Yeah, and he posted that picture when Kobe died, but like I forget, like I can't, everybody was sad when I was very sad when Kobe died. Obviously, I'm sure. Like I'm the person who's
Everybody
like,
was.
yeah, I'm the type of person who's like, yo, I don't understand like people like who, crying over when
So
celebrities
you know
die.
that song on my album Legends Never Die? You
So I couldn't
posted
tell
it
who was it
actually.
about. I was like, is it about Nipsey? Is it about like I couldn't tell who it was
It
about.
was about them. It was about both of them pretty much. But I made that song after Kobe died. I was at the studio, and when I got that news and the homie came through, and I was like, that was the song.
Well, it's interesting because I feel like rappers have to be very like super masculine, right? But like that was the first time I seen so many people like black men just like cry. Like Shaq was crying, like everybody was on. Like I've never really seen black men be vulnerable like that, like
Yeah,
ever. It was like I don't know. It was something. It was so like honestly, like I wish it hadn't happened, but it was just something so weird about like for the first time seeing like these people are human. You know what I mean? Like people were really
right.
people were really effed up. I'll try not to curse on this because my parents probably gonna listen. You could curse, anybody can curse, but people really messed up behind that. You know what I mean? So like,
They gonna
yeah,
be tripping when they see me smoking and all
no,
that. Oh
no,
man,
trust me, they're fine. You're not, yeah, it's fine. But yeah, no, that's crazy. So yeah, I can't imagine like, yeah, I can't imagine like, cause like I think that y'all get so desensitized to it, and like it took me a while to really just get used to like, okay, this is just normal, right? Like I remember like one time I watched like somebody wanted me to help them write. Like L.A. Reid's son had reached out to me to help him write something, and so he invited me to the crib to watch the Mayweather McGregor fight. And I walk in, and it's like Scottie Pippen, Usher, Kanye, Kim, like Courtney, and just like me, and just like it's like really intimate, like their kids and stuff. But like by that time, I was used to it. But I feel like people from LA, y'all just so used to like that type of, it's like y'all don't really like for the most part don't. I feel like that's why y'all hate transplants because it's like y'all like act like you've been there before. You know what I mean?
I mean,
Like,
because we kind of be growing up with it, like you know what I'm saying. Like, all right. I'm about to say some crazy shit, but it's not even that crazy, but it's kind of crazy, right?
go ahead, go ahead.
Like that kid whose parent is like famous or whatever. That's not your most lit friend. Like you have another friend whose parent is like just like a lawyer or a doctor who's like way more paid and way more lit. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I also feel like y'all grow up fast out there because y'all have that like Texas is very like conservative. You know what I mean? Like Christian. Like my mom's friend, like a family friend that we stay with, like she would let me read Harry Potter in her house. Like she was like it's demonic. You know what I mean? And she just like would just like stuff like that. She would trip. But I feel like LA is so like laid back. Like y'all parents kind of let y'all breathe. Like y'all jump off the porch. Not even on no street stuff, but just jump off the porch. Like just being like going around, going to the mall, going to
I
team
mean,
parties
like my
at a
parents are
young age.
both from LA, you know?
Yeah.
So like they already knew what it was like and what it was about being like living out here and growing up out here. So like I got to experience a lot of cool stuff, but also like from a place of like understanding and not just like I was just out here wilding, you know?
Yeah, no, that's real because you could. I mean, people can get lost and start wild. I mean,
Any
you
type
know,
of wilding that I did was like, you know, when I got older type shit.
yeah. So, like, what are you most proud of? Like, whether album, verse, like, what's the thing that you worked on? You're like, oh, this is like my like. I'm a come clean. I feel like that J Rock verse that was of all the ones. The one on the J Rock and Isaiah Rashad's. I feel like you to go up on a track with J Rock. Like, were you just like, yo, I gotta come. Like, did you know they were both gonna be on it? Like, did you turn in your verse last? Like, because I feel like you came on there like you knew like, oh, I'm going up against J Rock and Isaiah Rashad. Like, I'm about to come with it. Like I had to
Nah,
rewind.
so
I had to rewind that. I had to rewind that
me,
like a good couple times.
yeah, me and Zay made that song. Um, yeah, first like Zay was basically just like we recorded that at the crib, and Zay was just like in the room. He came out like, "Yo, I got this song. Like, you want to get on it?" So then I went in the room, and then like came out like 30 minutes later or something. We had a joint, and then he sent it in to Top, and they was like, "Yo, I want to put J Rock on this." And then next thing I know, like it was crazy because that weekend Kendrick performed at FYF Festival. So I went to FYF, seen Kendrick. Everybody's like, "Yo, did you hear about like the song?" Because Zay's album was already turned in at that point. So there was like, whispers that like this song got added to the album and that J Rock got on it. And I'm like, what are you all talking about? You know what I mean? Like, I just came here to see the concert tonight type shit, you know?
Yeah.
And then like that's when I met J Rock, seen Kendrick perform. And then like a couple of days later I went to the studio and he was in there and he played it for me and Zay. And I was like, damn, this is crazy. Like this shit finna come out in a couple more days. So like the time from us recording it till it coming out was like a week, you know?
Yeah. Damn,
And
that's quick.
the shit
That's
had
quick.
already been turned in. You get what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
we was just at the crib recording on some hanging out type shit, you know?
Yeah. Well, I feel like that's what's so unique about you when you said, because I'm like, I feel like LA has like it's got TDE, then it's also got like kind of like the street, like Draco, Greedo. I mean, RIP Draco, but like Greedo.
Yeah.
Who's that dude? Obviously, YG, RJ. Like it has that sort of like street rappers. Also got like Dom Kennedy and stuff too. And then, but they
Hmm.
also got that like kind of weirdo, like kind of our age type of guys like Tyler Earl. And I feel like you're like, because you did a song with Sid. Like it's like you said,
Yeah.
you've done songs with people who wouldn't really do songs with each other. Like you're kind of tapped into every single like you're plugged in some way with each kind of faction. Like you fit in all kind of four.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, that's definitely that's dope. So like, yeah, so what are you?
I just be really knowing people. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like I'm
and
really
you,
from out here, so I really be knowing people. Like, you know.
yeah, 100 years, 100 years in LA. So like, which of your albums are you like most proud of, or like verses are you most proud of?
I mean, honestly, bro, the Titty and Dollar shit is what took me all around the world. Play Coachella, doing that. You know what I'm saying? Like stuff that people dream of doing. I did a lot of that shit. Like as a musician, off of one thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, what that's the crazy thing about music now is that like you could have like I bet like I haven't seen the numbers, but I bet Lil Pump is gonna eat off of um Gucci Gang for like a long time. Like I feel like just off of
Yeah.
that, like with streaming especially. I mean, it's kind of like similar to how Mariah Carey makes like some insane amount of money every year just
Off the
off of.
Christmas song,
Yeah, like I mean,
it's
I don't
back
want
on
to.
the charts right now.
Yeah,
Actually,
I don't want to say a number because I always hear like a different number every year, but like it's supposed to like it's millions per. I mean, I'll look it up, but it's like a lot per year, and like I
yeah,
feel like all, like even like if Yachty only made broccoli, I feel like he could probably just eat off that. I mean, it depends on what type of like what type of deal you sign. But yeah, it's very interesting. So like, I want to talk real quick about the food thing too, because like you're a chef now. Like you're like also a chef. You rap. Well, I guess before the chef thing, like I think 100 years later was like summer 2021. So like, have you been working on? I mean, I know the pandemic and all that stuff. Have you been working on some the next project, or are you kind of like
definitely.
okay,
I'm about to flood it.
okay, all right, cool. We got the scoop.
Yeah,
All
I
right,
got a gang of shit about to
that's
flood
good.
it.
Also, by the way, it's 2.5 million per year, just off All I Want for Christmas Is You. So like, yeah, you could just off of one song. So what's the? I mean, you don't obviously like you don't want to give away too much, but like, what's the next album? Because I feel like each of your albums is kind of like a concept. Like they're so different from each other, right? Even just visually, right? Like even just looking at the
Definitely.
album covers, they're like each one's is a standalone kind of distinct project. So like, what's the theme? Like, what are you really exploring here?
All right, so like pretty much 100 years later, right? Even like with the album cover and everything, like I want to talk about that real quick. So like the album cover is like me redesigning the Crenshaw Mall. You feel me? So there's like been a lot of talk about like who owns the mall. They're selling the mall. You feel me? Like what's it gonna be in the future? So that's like what my contribution was to the conversation is like I designed the mall. You feel me?
Okay,
Um, but so that was kind of like about showing where shit could be in another 100 years. You feel me? And the
yeah,
project was about talking about where I come from and like what I've been doing. You feel me? And like
yeah. Well,
why I do it. You feel me?
yeah, well, I was watching your documentary because you talk a little about gentrification and just like fighting these same battles. But it's kind of weird because I feel like, especially for somebody who's been in LA for a long time, like gentrification kind of like obviously it has a negative connotation to it, but like if your family like I know some people who lived in New York, like Brooklyn, where like I'm gonna use fake numbers, but like let's say their grandma got a brownstone in like 1991 for like two hundred
Uh,
thousand, and now it's worth 2.5 million, and it's like
it
gentrification is
benefits some. You're
yeah,
saying
like
this benefits some people.
yeah, it does benefit the people who. I mean, if you it benefits owners and it hurts renters, but like like so
Yeah,
but
but I feel like
yeah.
I feel like if it's not benefiting the majority of us, you feel me, and if it's displacing the majority of us, then even if it is a win for like some people, then overall, like it's not good for us as a community. You know what I'm saying? And like, I feel like there's nothing wrong with stuff getting better, but if stuff is getting better, it needs to benefit the people. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're the reason why people want to come to Lamert Park and move into these areas like Ladera, Baldwin Hills, View Park, West Adams, you know what I'm saying? Jefferson
Well,
Park. Like,
yeah,
you
yeah.
feel me? It's because of us. It's because of the culture and the history that comes along with us living in these neighborhoods. You feel me? That's like why they're called historical landmarks. You know what I'm saying? Is because of the energy and the action that we've put into these streets. You feel me? So it's like a lot of the times what happens is when these areas get redeveloped, they want to keep the aesthetic. You know what I'm saying? They want to name the streets and they want to
Yeah,
have the
Obama.
have the artwork on the metro and stuff like that, but like displace the people. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
And bring
it's
in
like
the infrastructure and bring in the updates that we could have been having, but they just didn't want to bring it yet because it's like they don't want to service us in those communities. You know what I'm saying? Like we're
yeah.
paying the same taxes as everybody else. So why are our neighborhoods getting overlooked until it's time for them to want to bring some type of mass transit or other type of, you feel me, commerce into the neighborhood that we're not going to get to take part of?
That's real.
It would be different if businesses were being developed by people in the community, right?
Yeah.
So it's like if you want to redevelop this area, but you're bringing in these mass corporations and companies, like, do we need another 7-Eleven? Do we need another Subway? Do we need another Panda Express? Do we need another Chipotle? Like, because that's all that's going to happen, right? They're going to redevelop these little areas where it used to be a mom and pop restaurant or a corner store or a nail salon or a boutique or a, you know what I'm saying, that was owned by a
Yeah.
family, that lives in that neighborhood, right? That kids grow up in that shop, you know what I'm saying? Like that they're going to pass down in their family. But instead, they put a big fucking stadium and then they close down all the shops in the strip mall and then they redevelop it and then they bring in the Chili's and the fucking Wendy's, and you know what I'm saying? Like, who is that benefiting if we can't participate in the commerce that's happening in our neighborhoods? It's not only about us owning property, you know what I'm saying? It's like
Yeah, that's
we,
real.
like if you think about it on any type of level, it's like it's not only about owning land, it's about owning commerce too and having like trade. If we can't trade in our communities, then we don't have no lifeline. You feel me? Just
Yeah. Well,
having,
no, I
you
saw
feel
your.
me? Like
Yeah,
being in
yeah.
a it's like a desert otherwise. You feel
Yeah,
me?
yeah, yeah. No, and I saw your documentary, like, well, for the 100 years later release. You were talking about like black, like basically having a lot of black dollars in the building, right? Like Regency West, like doing it in Lamert, doing it at Regency West, like spreading it out. And I stayed like,
Yeah,
yeah, I stayed in Lamert for a little bit, like at one point, and like it does have like, you're right, it has that vibrant, like even just like Juneteenth, like there's a, like it has that spirit, like it's really, it's that like, kind of like drum circle, sort of like black, like historical spirit. So yeah, like losing that, and like I even like seeing there's a John and Vinny's, for people who don't know, is like a restaurant that's like in West Hollywood, but they opened one on Slauson, right? Like I can't imagine like a John and Vinny's on Slauson. Even like bringing the stadium, like now the Clippers going to build a stadium. Like I mean that's not going to be in Inglewood, but
right.
like like SoFi, and like you're right, it is like you do have to wonder, like, okay, like who's benefiting from that, and like how can that, how can the commerce that's coming in benefit kind of everybody and not just a select group of people. So that's true. I feel like you definitely have given that a lot of thought. And then like the food
100%.
thing, like it's funny. Speaking of, I mean, not the, I know you weren't like in the streets like that, but I ran to a friend of mine, or not even a friend, but like somebody, an acquaintance recently, who used to be in the streets, but now he's a chef, and it's like looking, like the last time I seen him like 10 years ago, he had a big 40 on his waist, and not now he's like a
Yeah,
chef. So like, it's dope to see people, like especially people who have been in the streets and stuff, like transcending. And it's like I almost feel like sometimes people who have been in the streets, like they reach a certain age where it's like they're the ones that's left, and it's like, like like where it's like, damn, this dude died, and this dude went to prison, and this dude, like, and it's like I gotta do something, I gotta do something different. And I'm not saying that applies to you, but like how did the how the food stuff come about? Because you were vegan for, I don't know if you're still vegan, but you were vegan for a minute.
yeah, I'm vegan, but I got into the food business through my mom. Really, like when I was growing up, my mom was doing catering, and that's how I learned about like preparing like large quantities of food and like serving and just like everything that goes into being a caterer. And so when the pandemic happened, I was already working on that album 100 years later, but the studio that I was like using was in West Hollywood, and there was just like a lot of like COVID cases over there, and it was just like not a chill area to be in. So I moved out of my studio. My mom was like telling me like, you know, what are you gonna do? You got to do something like with this time. You got to figure something out, you know, if because it was like I was supposed to go on tour. I had this album I've been working on. You feel me? Like,
Oh yeah, I forget about how much you know, we both have a lot of friends in the music industry, and I forget like how much COVID like messed up people's bags just as far as like because that tour bag like people talk about deals and
bro,
360s. That tour bag is like that's going to you. Like that's a lot of times that's not the
yeah,
label.
bro. And it
That's
was
you.
like it was just it kind of like it put a 2 year halt on like
Yeah,
motion.
No Coachella, no you know
You
like
know, like
worldwide.
yeah, you feel me? So like, um, yeah, I got into doing food because my mom was like, "Yeah, you always cooking. Like, you know, you got all these different vegan things that you like to cook. Like, you should just see if people want to buy it." And then that's literally how it happened, bro. Like, the first thing I made, I just started selling it, and then every week I just kept doing it and kept doing it till more and more people started coming. Then I got written up in the LA Times.
Oh wow.
Then I was fucking Munchies. Vice did a documentary on me. Then I
Oh, I
was
didn't
in the
even know.
Jay
That's
Z.
see, I was over here doing all
Yeah,
this research. I didn't see the LA Times or the Vice thing. I got to go back and look
yeah.
that up.
I was in the Jay Z Pharrell entrepreneur video. I got
That's
on
lit. That's lit.
fucking Bon Appetit. Like, you know, like,
Oh, so it must actually taste good. Like
you
I know
feel
you
me?
said
Like,
that a lot of people. You
I'm
said in another
on
interview that a lot of people who eat it aren't even vegan. So like, cause I'm not, I love meat. I'm
facts.
African, but I'm gonna have to try it even though I'm not. Because yeah, 80% of people who even eat it, aren't even vegan. So I guess I gotta try
Nah,
it.
for sure. For sure.
Yeah,
But
but
yeah,
that's
man, that's how
lit.
I got into food, and it kind of just took off, and I started getting all these write ups, and like Veg News did a spread on me in their magazine. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm all in different publications for this food shit
Damn.
that chefs be working their whole life to get in. So I'm really blessed in that regard too. You know?
Yeah. Well, I also feel like being a rapper kind of helped too, because I feel like you knew people, but also like I feel like rap and being a chef is kind of just so not opposite. But I feel like rap is very like macho, right? Rap is very like I'm like it's very
It's
cocky. Like
about
even
you. It's about you
yeah, and like being a chef is
and
about
for
the food.
other
It's
people.
about yeah, it's about other people. You know,
It's
it's
about
it's not
serving people. You
yeah, it's
know?
like two opposite sides of yeah. It's about serving people, and rap like it's funny. You have to be cocky to be a rapper too, because I feel like it's funny. I was a year ago. I was thinking about starting a podcast, and I was like, man, but I was like, everybody got a podcast. And my friend was like, my friend who manages a few rappers. He's like, yeah, but that's like saying you're not gonna rap because everybody raps, right? I'm like, damn, like rappers really have to have that sort of like, yo, like I'm that dude, like I'm nice, like I don't care if other people rap. Like rappers have to really have that sort of cockiness to them. And I feel like, like being a rapper, I'm sure it helped because it's like that dichotomy.
Everybody do that shit now. You feel me? Like
Yeah. Well,
everybody be rapping, bro. Like, so that can't be a reason to not do it.
yeah, that's real. What you say? Like your mind is. Are you saying? Are you like? Would you say like? Because obviously this is a business too. I mean, both of them are businesses, but like the food thing, like being written up in all those places, you can really take this. You can have your own. I think you had a truck, I believe, but you can have your own. Storefront, ghost kitchen, whatever. So how's your attention focus? Is it like 80 20 like rap, like 80% raps, 20% the food and chef, or is it like 75 25 50 50 60 40? Like where's your head at with that?
I feel like it'd be like 100.
That's real. That's a good answer. That's a good answer. I like that.
Like I'm trying to go hard at both. You feel me? Like
Yeah, Action Bronson is. I mean, I'm not saying like obviously not saying you copied him, but like Action Bronson like is another like dude who's done food and done rap. So I guess like low key and like Bun B has his Bun B's burgers. So yeah, you're right. Like I'm tripping. Like there's nothing to say that you can't go hard in both of them. To be honest, like
I feel like we get put in this like ideology that like as humans or something, we're supposed to just do one thing all the time. And it's like, bro, life is long as fuck, and like, bro, You can do
Yes.
something. You can do something for 6 days out of the week and do something for one day out of the week, or you could do five different things in your week. Like you can do so. Like I'm just saying, like
No, I actually I appreciate that because I think about like Noriega, right? Nori, he's known for Drink
yeah,
Champs. People wouldn't know, like Nori was one of the hardest rappers. Like if you like go back and listen to the War Report, like by Capone and Noriega,
right,
like people don't like people, you know, when they talk about great '90s albums, they think about like, you know, like I love. I mean, well, Supreme Clientele was 2000, but I love like, you know, like Illmatic and, you know, Life After Death, and obviously like, you know, all things Tupac. But like the War Report is up there as far as like, but there's a whole generation of people who don't know Nori as a rapper, who don't know Joe Budden as a rapper, and who just know
right.
them as podcasters. So you're right, like it is true that like you shouldn't pigeonhole you know, people. But
I'm
as
not
we
saying there's anything wrong with people that like they just focus on one thing and they're really good at it or whatever. But I just think for myself, like I grew up doing a lot of different shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, and now that I've gotten to a place as a rapper where I can try to do other things and still maintain like my rap shit and still keep achieving and like working towards making that bigger and better, like why not?
Yeah, that's real. Okay, as
You
we are about
know?
to, yeah, as we start to about to wrap up, who's your top five? Like your top five rappers? Mine is pretty vanilla. I feel like it's funny you talk about Zero earlier. Like in Houston, growing up in Houston, people would be like Nas, Tupac, Biggie, Jay-Z, and Zero. like people like love Zero.
Yeah.
Mine is kind of generic. I'll probably say like Pac, Big, Nas, Jay-Z, Eminem. I feel like Ghostface Killer is up there for me. Common, even Ice Cube, Drake. I've been listening to so much Lil Durk. I gotta say Lil Durk. But what about like what's your like, you know, top five? And you could put yourself there. I feel like every rapper could put themselves there because if you don't believe you're one of the best, like then why are you doing it, right?
I mean, yeah, bro, like I just did one of those Spotify like concert things and I was one of the headliners of my own shit. You feel me? Like
As you should be, as you should
I'm
be.
listening to my shit all day for real. But I mean, I don't think I'll ever be able to make a top five. You feel me? Like just because I love so much like
Yeah.
hip
Well,
hop. You feel me? But
eh, eh,
my favorite MCs are like you feel me. Tupac, Nas, Black Thought, Most Def,
oh, okay.
Ice
That's like
Cube,
real. Yeah. People
MF
forget
Doom,
people forget about Ice Cube because they see him as like, are we
Emo.
there? Like, go back and listen
Yeah,
to like I low key don't think anyone had like you might be able to say Ice Cube's first three albums up against anybody, any genre, even first three albums. Like Ice Cube came
Snoop
out the
Dogg,
gate.
Kendrick Lamar,
Yeah. Yeah.
Nipsey. You feel me? Like,
Yeah. And then I guess real I mean, well, I don't want to end on this because I don't want to end on anything negative, but like why because like I said earlier, like LA, one thing that was always cool to me about LA, or not cool, it was kind of funny to me. Like y'all had that kind of squabble culture where it's like, where you from? And then, you know, it's all about running fades and like, you know, like it's that squabbling. And like Houston,
square up.
we used to have a squabble culture. And that's, like I said, I think 2005 came, Katrina, everybody came, started to be more of a shooting culture. And then, you know, the past 3 years, every city, you know, with the pandemic, the past 2 years, every city done turned into a shooting culture. But like LA, like, it's different. Like people are like low key scared to even go there. Low key, like what, like how has that been for you? Like watching your city turn into like I'm not gonna try to be like the like oh it's just so bad. But you know there's obviously like Pop Smoke, PNB Rock, or you know even like you know Draco tragically. But like and even
Like the
just
streets is hot right now.
yeah like how has that been for you? Like watching that happen to your city like and like you know like
Man, that
and
shit
also being a
always be
rapper
hot.
yourself, like being a rapper yourself.
Bro, the streets been hot out here. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
I feel like now we just like more people's moving out here, I guess, or I don't know. It's just happening to people that's like this shit was already happening every day. It just wasn't happening to famous niggas. You
Yeah.
feel me? Now it's like niggas is coming out here, moving out here, hanging out, like being out here, and it's more thirstier now. Everybody got guns now. Everybody got.
Yeah. And I
You
think
feel me? Like everybody.
yeah.
Also, I feel like now it's like niggas are flexing all the time. Like
Yeah,
niggas
Instagram
really,
culture. Instagram
niggas really
culture.
be flexing. Like back in the day, if you wasn't really on that, like you wasn't just wearing chains and shit like that, because somebody would come take that. You feel me? Now it's on some shit like everybody just like don't think it can really happen to them, you know?
Yeah, and that's one weird thing. It's like anybody like there's no shame in like getting robbed. Like it can happen. Like the hardest person in the world could get caught like slipping. Like I don't know why people think like it's like a like it just can't happen to you. Like no, the hardest person in the world can get robbed. Like it doesn't mean you're like it just means you were you were slipping and just it could just be wrong place, wrong time. But yeah, it is crazy because I always felt like one thing I love like I never felt because I'll be partying like Delilah, like Nice Guy, like kind of like Hollywood places. I never felt
Yeah.
like when I'm in Houston,
Like you was going
when I'm
you
in
never
Houston,
thought you never felt like you was gonna get robbed in Delilah or nothing?
yeah, I've never felt like so my theory. I always felt like in like Houston, like the difference between Houston and LA is I feel like Houston, it feels like even if you go to somewhere that's like nice, the streets gonna be there because like there's certain elements like
Yeah, but
like
I feel like
I feel
that be
like
the thing too. Even in the club out here, it's like you just don't know because you don't know who's from the hood in there.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying? Like,
but I always felt like as long as I stay north of the 10 and like west of La Brea, like or even like west of Fairfax, like I'm good. But I feel like nowadays, like it's really like it could like anybody could
it
get it.
sound like a white person saying that shit,
You're
dog.
right. I sound terrible, but I'm saying like what I never felt like what dog, when I'm in Houston, I don't think you understand. Like because I've been like I said, like my house got shot 6th grade. I got shot 20 when I was 16. Like I was at somewhere else. Like a group of friends of mine threw like a block party in 2013. Got shot up. I was out some club in 2016. Got shot up. I was out in April this year. And so like when I'm in Houston, I'm always kind of like on alert. Like when I saw that takeoff thing, I was like, bro, like you see people start arguing, you see people start somebody swing, you dip. When I'm in LA, I never feel like, but I feel like now it's like I feel like now like you just hear like on Fairfax, on Rodeo, like Rolex taken, like, and I'm like, wow, like what, like it's crazy to me.
Yeah, I mean, niggas is coming out here thirsty, trying to hit a
Yeah.
lick. You feel me?
Yeah.
Like,
Also, yeah, no shade to anyone who lives. I lived in Leimert for a little bit. No shade to anyone who lives south of the 10 or what. I'm saying like when I first moved, like I was never like I feel like now like that same mentality that I have in Houston, where I'm kind of like, all right, like where the exits, like all right, these who's like are these people? Like I feel like I have to kind of probably have that same mentality even in LA now, where like I gotta make sure I like who's that like.
you gotta
All
stay
right.
on point regardless.
Yeah, it's tragic, but
You feel me?
I hope it passes. Like, I don't like. I feel like people say like, oh, the PPP money ran out, so that's why, or like people start wearing masks because of COVID, so they're masked up anyway. Like I feel like it's gonna be papers written in colleges on why did crime, why did like murders and stuff spike every city like Philly, Houston, LA
Right.
after like was it people just cooped up inside and like they just went crazy like what like something happened these past couple of
It's
years.
it's crazy because it just like it really do feel like everywhere it is kind of heightened right now. But you
Yeah.
feel me?
Well, we have to end
I
on a
just try to.
positive note.
I just like I was about to say. I just stay on my shit, bro. Like
Yeah, I'll stay out the way. I'll
I'm
stay
trying to get
green.
this healthy food out to the community,
Yeah,
make my
save some
music,
lives.
and
Save some lives. Have you picked the title for the album?
for my new shit.
Yeah, the new one.
So I got a new project coming out at the top of the year with this producer Walt Mansa. It's gonna be called Mogul Talk. So it's just like a collab. I guess you could call it an EP between
Okay.
me and him. He made all the beats. I made all the songs. And then after that, I got another project that's just like another addition to the Hugh Augustine
Yeah, because you have a
vault.
catalog. You have a bit of you got a lot of albums. You've been doing this for a
Yeah,
minute now. Like you
those
really
are all
have.
the ones that came out. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Those don't.
yeah.
There's a lot more on this fucking thing right here.
Yeah, no, that's lit. And, oh wow, yeah. And then, I mean, do people still like? Do you ever? Because I remember I listened to an interview. You said like people were only like the beats on your last album, or maybe it was the one before that. Um, maybe it was one before that, but it was like they were all made for you. Like it wasn't like somebody you're getting people stowaway beats or beats that people just like send beat packs. Like it's like, oh, these are for
Right.
you. Is that the same thing with this album? I'm guessing too.
Hell yeah.
That's lit. That's lit.
That's how I get down. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
I
Like,
think it was Dubious that you said like your 2018 album Dubious that you said that like in an interview that like everything was made for that like for you for that album. So that's dope. That's
yeah,
dope.
definitely. I feel like, people that I mean, if I get a beat pack from a producer, it's because it's a beat pack of beats they made for me type shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I feel like I'm only working with people that understand what I'm trying to do with this shit anyway. So they're giving me shit that's like along those lines type
And
shit.
what are
You
you
know?
trying to do? Like, what's your? Because I mean, I feel like you can rap sort of like I said. You can. I mean, you're the only person who can really do a song with Sid and then a song with Skeme and then a song with J Rock. You know, like you like. So what are like what you could fit out every. You could kind of fit every pocket. Like, what's the pocket for this album? Or like for your next like your next phase?
I mean, on this next album, I'm really on some like lifestyle shit. Like it's more of a reflection of where I'm at now. You feel me? Like if if everything else was like growing pains, like I'm like getting in my stride. You feel me?
Yeah, yeah. That
That's what
yeah,
I was saying about 100 years later. 100 years later was like my 30th birthday. You feel me? Like coming into like my next phase in life, and like this is the beginning of that. It's like niggas on this boss shit, bro. Like we having businesses, we having, you know what I'm saying? Like
like
niggas are doing,
you made it through the downs and now it's like the ups.
yeah. Like now it's like, oh shit, I've been doing like the type of shit that I'm doing in my life. Like I've been doing it now for the past 7 years type shit. Like already on this rap shit. You feel me? Like nigga taking trips, going on tours, like you feel me?
Yeah, yeah. Wait, that
Yeah.
tour that was a full TD tour too. That was like was that you who else went on tour? The one the worldwide one, like the Europe and all that.
It was me and Isaiah.
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah, that was lit.
Yeah.
That's like all right. Well, okay, where tell people where they could find you, like on Instagram, Twitter, all that.
Okay, I mean Instagram, Twitter, all that is Hugh Augustine MC. You could just search all the DSPs for my music. Just look up Hugh Augustine. YouTube, fucking all that shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well,
Hugh's Hot Bowls. If you want to look at my food business, Hugh's Hot Bowls on Instagram, hughshotbowls.com, or you could text me 323-400-2003. You feel me? Got the direct line on your boy if you want me
yeah,
to cook
Mike
something for
Jones.
you. Come with the deposit, you feel me?
Yeah, come with a deposit, catering, all that. So, all right, man. Well, it's
Yeah,
good, man. I'm looking forward to it. And like I said, I really did like I spent time with your music today, just listening to it. And I was like, oh, like it really like it has that LA feel, and it was like I was able to really listen 100 years later, like front to back, which I like I said, that's so rare, like to have an album that you can listen
that's
to front to
hard.
back and that's cohesive and everything, and that even like tells a
Yeah.
story and all that. So, I
Come
appreciate the
on,
time.
man.
Yeah, appreciate the time.
Yeah,
And
hell
also, we
yeah.
gotta get it
Thanks for
next
having
time.
me.
Yeah, for sure. We get into your comics. I know you like comedy too, because that's where that's my role. Like, I know you like Curb Your Enthusiasm, Seinfeld. So we gonna get into that next time, maybe after the album drops. But
Oh yeah, man. You know, I be on my comedy shit. Lately I've been tapping into the 70s black films and like Rudy Ray Moore and stuff like that, like tapping into that old shit.
yeah,
You
well,
feel me?
you have some. I mean, I didn't catch this. I feel like 100 years later was a little bit more gritty. But I know like on Dubious, you had like some more punchlines, right? Where it was more like like stuff that might smack you upside the head, like a joke, like
Yeah, yeah,
um
for sure.
yeah, yeah. So no, that's dope. You can
I try
I
to keep
love.
it lighthearted.
Yeah, I love when somebody because like I write jokes, but my jokes don't have to rhyme. So when somebody could tell a joke and it's rhyming, and it's on beat,
Right.
like that's lit. Like that's
Come on,
like
we on.
yeah, like that's what like Wayne and that's why when Wayne and Joel's were really going crazy with the mixtapes, like they had the best kind of punchlines, like you know yeah, like it's just like I love like somebody who could really have punchlines. Like it's even like the one thing I liked about the like one thing I like about that her Lost album was like Drake was really like having some punchlines, like what's that line? He has the we Drake Wayne was like we call that cocaine. We got that what is it? We call that cocaine rice. Call it I got that Condoleezza. Like just stuff like that where you're just like, oh,
Right,
that's so creative. Like we call that cocaine rice.
right.
I got that Condoleezza. Just like but yeah, nah. So and I love like the like I do feel like rappers like rap
We
and
just being
acting and
clever, you
comedy,
know?
yeah, it's like the like just like wittiness and like cleverness, like it's all in that same universe. So yeah, no, it's dope, man. I really appreciate having you. Thank you. I appreciate we were able to get the sound worked out. So yeah, man, it's a
Yes,
blessing, and
sir.
I'm happy. Like anytime I see a black man, especially somebody who's like in rap in LA is living because there's that whole, Pac died when he was 25, Big was 24, and like we've seen a lot, unfortunately, like so many, and like not that you don't invite that into your life because you're not on that type of timing on your music, but regardless, like we've seen people who just on some fluky type of stuff. So it is just dope to have like you around. Like you're definitely somebody who like the whole city of LA. Like, I'm not from LA, but I just know that the whole city of LA really rocks with you. So it's dope to have you.
Man, thank you, bro.
All right,
I
man. Peace.
appreciate it. I'm glad we got this moment.
For sure. We're gonna have some more. All right,
Yeah,
later.
for sure. Holla.
Okay, that was Hugh Augustine. Make sure to like, subscribe, share, retweet, whatever, all the engagement verbs. Just really engage. Engage. Like you're getting married. And yeah, follow me, DSONOIKI. Follow Hugh. I'm sure he said it on the episode where to follow him. And I will catch you next episode.